We are the Pod Squadron, everybody. We're a new show about Starcast. We're coming to talk to you about the full scope of the Star Wars experience. We've got TV shows to cover, animation, movies, games, cosplay, community events, the whole gamut. Basically, we're in here to talk Star Wars with you. And everybody is starting a podcast, and there's some whack ones out there, but we want to start a good one for Star Wars, so that's why we're here. And first off, I really want to say happy Halloween to everybody. This is our premiere episode. I don't know how it ended up happening on Halloween, but there it goes. Oh, wait, I do know The Mandalorian. That's right. So we're going to be getting into a lot of that as we go on. We're going to be doing some reviews, some recaps, and let me give you a quick rundown of what you're going to experience today before we get into our proper introductions. We're just going to go over some news, let you know about some Halloween shenanigans, because that's always a thing with Star Wars. We want to talk about the Star Wars community, getting into a little bit of healing, a little bit of connecting with each other again. And we're going to talk about The Mandalorian Season 2. We're not going to do, your normal Easter egg thing, but we have a little bit of a response and a review that we want to share with you. Really think you're going to enjoy that, and we hope you'll stay around for it. Now, let's get into some proper introductions. We have our three different members here of the Pod Squadron team. First of all, let's start with Andy Lowe.
Hi there, my name is Andy Lowe. I am actually a theater director, producer, puppeteer, performer, fight choreographer, random things. But I have been a fan of Star Wars since I was 5. I remember in 1980 when we got our first Betamax tape player. That was one of like the 3 movies that we had on repeat, because that was all we had. We had Mary Poppins, like Dumbo, and Star Wars, and those movies were in repeat constantly, and that kind of sparked kind of my lifelong relationship with Star Wars and how it has inspired so much storytelling and so much creativity throughout my life. And yeah, that's me.
All right. I hear the production staff back there. I don't know what you guys are talking about, but let me know if you want to say something. Hey, Tracy, go ahead.
It's the first episode. This is when you work out all the technical glitches, right?
Absolutely.
So my name is Tracy Deering, also known as Hot Nerd Girl. I am a writer and sometimes blogger, social media person, occasional cosplay artist, mostly for charity stuff, pre-COVID. Everything's pre-COVID, right? Pre and post-COVID. It's going to be like the Battle of Yavin. It's going to be like before COVID and after COVID. But yeah, so I have been a sci-fi fan since I was born. It was both my parents are sci-fi fans and grew up in the Bay Area. So we used to hunt for Ewoks, and not hunt for them. We used to search for Ewoks in Muir Woods.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they would hunt for me. So.
Well, they are cannibals after all. So.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Wait, are they? I didn't know that.
Well, they don't eat each other, but they eat people.
Okay. We have they're playing drums on a bunch of empty stormtrooper helmets. Where did the stormtroopers go?
Small ravenous beast, I get it. All right, and thank you, Tracy. And I myself, I am Mr. Benja. I am an ex-video game developer. I used to program and design. Right now, I run the 8-Bit Cubist, and I've always been a fan of Star Wars. And I don't know if I have any like special nerd cred, but I caught myself at Andy, you might remember this. I caught myself at a Star Wars burlesque show that was being put on by a friend of ours out in San Diego, Aubrey Miller, Soul Media Marketing, great lady. Yeah, so she put me on to, Star Wars burlesque, and we ended up having a great time. And everybody was like, yeah. Well, what'd you do this weekend? I went to a Star Wars burlesque show. It was great. And I got looks like, what? And that's when I realized I had a certain connection to Star Wars that other people just didn't have. So that's my cred, I guess. I'll find one of those pictures and send it out later. But yeah, so that's us. It's Halloween, and I want to appreciate everybody's costume. I'm here as Darth Benja. It's my special little cloak here. Hope you guys like it. I won't do any mind tricks on anybody out in the audience, but
I do want to go. Change my mind.
Tracy, I gotta point out your background and your little Wookiee outfit there. Tell us about it.
I did. I went and got fancy and got a shower curtain for you guys. And I got into woodworking during COVID, so I built a 20-minute quick and dirty toy shop displaying credenza for behind me out of some leftover plywood and a couple of fence boards that I had that I just cut in half. And then, today I decided I could have dressed as Princess Leia or steampunk Sabe Sprocket or something, but I decided instead to be a Wookiee for you guys. So I got my fur, and I even have the feet, which you can't see.
Oh. Good job not kicking over your camera there.
It was close. It was really close, let me tell you. But I'm good.
Andy, you're representing the scoundrels over there, Andy, and that's a nice shirt you got too.
I got my scoundrel vest, as it were. Yes, there with many pockets for slicing, I guess, and my Hydro spanner goes in here into this pocket there. And I've also, of course, I'm rocking the child. I don't know if you can see, the shirt there. He's waving. He's doing the magic hand thingy there for y'all.
Magic hand thing, Andy. All right, very cool. So I'm glad to see we're all in the good spirit here. First up, we're going to start doing these little segments. We're not sure how everything is going to work out. As we said, this is the first episode, but there's a lot of news on the docket. And Andy, you are the man with all the encyclopedic knowledge here. I'm going to go ahead and say that. So I'm going to let you run with the news right quick. Let's see what we got.
Well, this is the thing, right? We've got a lot of news. This is kind of a golden era for nerds. We have blockbusters and TV shows and comics and books coming out, particularly in the Star Wars galaxy. So a number of things that are coming out. First of all, our first headline of the day, Mandalorian Season 3 is already set to begin filming. In an interview with Jon Favreau, he said that they are slated to resume production for Season 3 before the end of the year. He noted that the innovative production technique they pioneered for The Mandalorian, using all of their wall-sized video screens, and also, of course, noting that many of the cast members are masked, because this is the way. So it makes for a very safe filming environment in times of COVID-19. So what that means is that they are on track to continue to be consistent in offering up Season 3 next fall, this time next year.
Yeah, good. So, I mean, it's funny. We haven't even really gotten into Season 2, and people are already speculating what Season 3 is going to be about. It's pretty incredible.
There's a lot of excitement, and we'll get into more of that later on. Our next headline, Warwick Davis, who some of you might remember, who performed as the Ewok Wicket in Return of the Jedi, is set to return in the starring role of a new series based on Willow. If you remember back in the 1980s, I believe in 1987, director Ron Howard developed a fantasy film with George Lucas called Willow, with Warwick Davis as a aspiring wizard, and they are set to come back to that world and that universe on Disney Plus, with Warwick returning in that role. It is developed by director John M. Chu, who also is known for Crazy Rich Asians and In the Heights, and written by son of Lawrence Kasdan, Jonathan Kasdan, and working with Wendy Miracle from CW's Arrow.
I'm so excited about this one. I love Warwick Davis.
I'm just happy to see him wherever he is. He's been in basically every Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi, right? In various cameos and various roles. And he loves Star Wars. He hosts all of the Star Wars Celebration shows. So the fact that he's getting, a much-deserved spotlight as the title character of a new Disney Plus series, I am so grateful for that.
At what point does he show up in The Mandalorian, by the way? Because it's got to happen at some point, right?
That's a good question. Well, we'll see. Maybe he'll show up later this season. We'll see.
I'm gonna keep keeping an eye out.
So one interesting point that I had on that one is that he's it's still under Lucasfilm, Willow. So a lot of people weren't aware of that. But yeah, the whole Willow franchise is under Lucasfilm, which means Lucas is still pushing their other properties, and hopefully, we won't see them just become a Star Wars unit. And maybe they should, depending on how their corporate structure is made. But having different properties always seemed to be a thing that worked well for Lucas. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they split up their next level of effort, how they work with Disney Plus, and is there a whole Lucasfilm category or a fantasy category? It starts to get interesting. So this is all connected to Star Wars in that respect. So we want to see what these other properties are going to be doing. Got any more for us, Andy?
Well, just bouncing off of that, then that also leaves the door open for another Lucasfilm obscure property, Howard the Duck.
I didn't mention that, right?
Anyways, moving on. We have a bunch of other stories that we're going to get into next week because there's a lot of releases this month here in November. We have new books, the new Certain Point of View book that's coming out November 10th, a new Star Wars holiday special from Lego will be on Disney Plus on November 17th. There's also the new VR experience from Oculus Studios on the Quest platform called Star Wars Beyond Galaxy's Edge. This is expansion material to the theme parks at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. That's coming up on November 19th. And of course, there's also a lot of releases about characters for the upcoming launch of Star Wars High Republic in January of next year. So we'll dive deeper into those next week on the show. So that's this week's news. If you have other stories, scoops, and rumors you'd like to respond to, leave them for us in the chat or on any of our social media pages at the Pod Squadron. For now, though, because today is Halloween, I wanted to do a little bit of deep dive.
Andy, 1 second. We got to get you one of those. We got to get you one of those little news desks where you have like the pencil and the paper. So, and that's the news with Andy, the Chinese pirate.
Right.
It'll be great. Trust me.
I'm down. Okay. The news of the galaxy coming to you live. So one of the things we wanted to do today for Halloween is get into some of the monsters and aliens of the Star Wars universe. So there's a lot of fun stuff in there where, particularly around that first episode 4, and the cantina scene where basically you had all of these aliens that they had to get to populate that cantina with only 10 weeks of production and a really low budget. So, you have random things showing up in that cantina, like they recycled some 1960s era British Royal Air Force flight suits. There was also a giant human fly head, just, literally grabbing stuff out of the prop cabinets to populate up aliens. And as a result, you have some aliens that are pretty much clearly traditional monsters, which are pretty fun to see. But what's even funner to see is that as Star Wars has evolved and these characters have been canonized or new stories have been developed around them. So I just wanted to jump into some of those characters. I think we've got a little bit of a slideshow of some of those characters. Can we bring those up now? All right. So we're starting with... all right. So this is actually the character known as the Crime Lord Vizago. He is a character from the animated series Rebels, based on the planet Lothal. He is of a race called the Devaronians. And the Devaronians are kind of a devil-looking alien race. If we can go to the next card. So the original Devaronians was a horned red devil character that we saw in Mos Eisley Cantina. That went on to kind of inspire a whole bunch of lore about these characters, their planet Deveron, kind of their culture. It's all kind of populated. And of course, what we're seeing a photo of right here is Clancy Brown, who played a Devaronian in season 1, episode 6 of The Mandalorian. So that this all kind of continues.
I like that.
All right. this is an example of zombies in the Star Wars universe. So this is from Clone Wars Season 2. There were 2 episodes, episodes 7 and 8, Legacy of Terror and Beware the Brain Invaders. And this was a Geonosian queen who was kind of an insect race. We saw them in Attack of the Clones. And she had the power to kind of send these worms into creatures that would control their brains. We can advance to the next slide here. So she would reanimate dead corpses of Geonosians and send them against her enemies. Keep advancing. And they would also ended up infecting a couple of clones, which made for a whole great episode, actually. That kind of was one of the turning points in Ahsoka Tano's story arc as she became more independent. Keep advancing. Because I believe one of the worms ended up infecting a fellow Jedi, Barriss. I'm forgetting her last name. Barriss off something or other.
I gotta say, I like this shot. It's like, hold on, can I help you? You seem to have something caught in your throat. It's like a giant worm thing.
I'm choking. Heimlich, yes. Yes, there she comes. She comes after her with the worm coming out of her throat. Opportunity for Clone Wars to delve into a little bit of horror. Next slide.
Zombies are my biggest fear, and there's just no escaping them.
Well, how about zombie stormtroopers? So this one is no longer official. So the Clone Wars episodes are still in canon, but in Legends there was a pair of novels by Joe Stryber. They were basically about a year after A New Hope, where they found basically a Star Destroyer with some kind of experimental virus that turned troopers into zombies.
Is this a Disney? Wait, is this an official poster or book cover?
This is the book cover, and I believe there was a prequel book to this that was released as well. I believe
that's not Disney, man. That's not Disney. I don't know about this.
Yeah, that's definitely pre-Disney.
That's why it's no longer canon.
And moving on to the next slide. Okay, so this is the fly I was talking about before, right? So this is literally a random fly head that they found in prop storage, and they're like, what do you do with that? I don't know, it looks like an alien. Put it in there! So this actually later got named as a character named Brizit. And they came up with a whole backstory for this literally random extra with a fly head, that he comes from a whole race. He is actually, they gave him a backstory in the comics that is basically, he's like a space Indiana Jones. So he's a xenoarchaeologist. He's searching for this whole MacGuffin. They have this whole thing, and he ends up living in the sewers of Tatooine to hide out from his pursuers. But I love that it's literally just they found a random fly head. They didn't, and then of course the fans and the writers and the whole Lucasfilm team just yeah, I want to write something about that guy.
That's great. I love living in the sewers and living a shitty life with flies all around. It's
a shitty life. It would probably be pretty good to him. I mean, you never know.
And his name is Brizit.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the name of the race that they came in. It's TZI. Yeah, I'm not even.
Zit.
I think we have one more, and of course, we have the werewolves that show up in the cantina. There, they are now called Shistavanen, but very clearly, that's basically they found a Wolfman mask, and they just I need an alien, put it in there. Now, this is the funny thing too. This became a sore spot for George Lucas because he clearly was just not happy about we just found some werewolf masks and put them in his space film. And they ended up going back through into special editions to add more aliens on top of that, the Wolfman. So now there's only one Wolfman, where there were 5 shots of the Wolfman in various places. So these are kind of fun little behind the scenes look, and also just kind of celebrating how the storytelling has expanded well beyond what it could have been, what it wanted to be. Yeah.
Yeah, for all you kids out there looking to get into storytelling, remember, nothing's off limits. Ran a Halloween shop, it's all good. Make something happen.
Because you know what? They all now have action figures too.
That's excellent.
As somebody who's dressing up as a furry for the night, I kind of like the werewolf one the best. The Shistavanin.
Oh, I got to shout out the production team right quick. They're keeping us on our guard here, making sure that all the images are showing up and that we're not goofing off too much. So just a quick shout out to them. We'll introduce them later, maybe in the comments. I don't know. Now, so if we're done with that, I think that was a good little intro, get us all feeling good. And you know what? That's one of the things about this podcast. I wanted to make sure that we were all happy and coming together in a new way. There is a new hope for the Star Wars universe, population, whatever you want to call it, because we're going obviously into a new generation. I think we've gotten over the hard part, which was the past 3 movies, and whoa, that's not true, Andy.
I didn't say anything.
You guys got over that.
So yeah, we titled this one "The Healing Begins" because I personally, and I assume it's the same for you, Andy, and you, Tracy, that after the 3 films, we're able to step back and say, you know what, we still all love Star Wars. It's all good, clean fun. I had my Andy actually broke my heart when he told me his thoughts on The Last Jedi, and I thought he was wrong, and it put a rift in our relationship. But we're back here, and we're doing good things. So, Andy, I'm sorry if I ever offended you. We're doing good things, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, and this is it's been my thing since, Disney Star Wars began. It's like, not every Star Wars is going to be for me, right? Even the prequels, and I know, Benja, you are a lover of the prequels. I have come around to the prequels, but I remember seeing Jar Jar the first time and going, oh, this was not made for me. There are going to be things here, like there's Darth Maul and there's Qui-Gon Jinn, and there are things that I'm going to love, but this was not for me. Now, we are now in a realm where we have theme parks, we have comics, we have novels, we have the High Republic, we have the prequel series, we have originals. The comics are digging back into Luke, Han, and Leia. There are Lego stuff. There's Star Wars for every age, every race, creed. There's something for everyone here. And that's the thing that I find really fascinating about where we are right now. How much content we're getting. That
is definitely amazing. And, it may have taken us going through Disney and over that hump to get there. But, you brought this up to me, and it's a good point. It's definitely necessary to have a company or an entity like Disney to really push things to all these different boundaries, just by the sheer weight of their, economic force, if you want to get real about it. But Tracy, I saw you made a little face over there when we mentioned the prequels. Is there some healing you would like to discuss?
I have very mixed feelings about the prequels. I much like Andy, I've come to appreciate them in a certain sense. Number 2. I have a really hard time stomaching number 2. It's just too many, too much soap opera. Yeah, I'm not a rom-com person, really, and there's just too much of that. Yeah, when you see that,
all of the details on why we like this and that off camera,
okay,
and off,
okay.
We actually did a top 10 list. So
That's another day. I will say that for some people, the only Star Wars that is for them is Empire Strikes Back. Whereas I am not that way. I think in general, I love the whole franchise, and I can find something positive about all of it. And I tend to be a peacemaker anyway, so chances are I'm not going to nearly lose a friendship over a movie.
It's happened before. So with that, I know that we are all definitely being healed by one of the best things to come around in a while, a streaming show called The Mandalorian. It took me by surprise. I was fighting Disney Plus for a while. I didn't want to get it. I got on it kind of late, but I got there, saw The Mandalorian, was really happy with what they did. Andy, I know you were on it much earlier than I was, and I didn't believe you. I still had healing to do, and I didn't believe you at the time. But now I see, I'm like, okay, this Andy guy knows what he's talking about. Still like you, Andy, good guy. And so I'm just happy with the whole thing. Mandalorian's a great way to get into it. Now we're getting into season 2. And Andy, I know I was supposed to do this, but maybe you can give a quick overview of what happened in season 1. We're not going to get into any season 2 spoilers at the immediate moment, but we'll let you know when that comes up. But could you just give us a rundown, Andy?
Sure.
This is assuming you've seen season 1, by the way.
We're assuming you've seen season 1. So if you haven't seen season 1, this is where spoilers begin. If you haven't, so we are starting with season 2 right now. And in season 2, the Mandalorian returns, now quested by the armorer to reunite the child with his people, whom he believes to be a race of enemy sorcerers called Jedi. His current plan? To track down other Mandalorians across the galaxy so that they can help lead him to find these Jedi. His search for allies allows him to pick up leads in places both familiar and unfamiliar, as his preconceptions of honor, nobility, and what it means to wear that Beskar armor are challenged. And that's pretty much our setup for episode 1.
I like it. And
I think maybe did we lose audio?
No.
We may have lost audio on Benja. Very quickly, though, as Benja starts to figure out his audio, I think our next plan was to just do some quick review of
I can hear you just fine, Benja.
Spoiler-free. Tracy and Mark. Actually, I don't have any sound.
All right, so while Andy fixes this.
Welcome to All Tech Lansing.
That's hilarious.
Stand by for technical difficulties.
Someone let him know.
First episode.
Andy, let him know we're laughing at him.
Oh, he heard that.
Yes.
Okay.
So
hello.
That was our rundown right there. While Andy works that out, Tracy, we talked a little bit earlier, and you definitely had some good points about Mandalorian season 2.
Andy lost his arm for a second.
I know, right? Look at that. First episode, everybody. This is how the sausage is made. Listen.
I'm back. Are you back? Do you hear me?
The Kashyyyk sausages are being made in front of you.
We were never gone. You just couldn't hear or something.
I lost audio on my end.
All right, so basically we were just going to start jumping into what was going on with the Mandalorian season 2, and we're assuming you all have seen it. There are all these downs, reviews, Easter eggs, and there's a lot of that involved there. But because of the way we're structuring this show, we wanted to give you something a little different, maybe a more personable take instead of a Wikipedia rundown of what happened, because you can get that anywhere. So. Tracy, let's hear your thoughts on some of these characters, actually, from the first episode, season 2.
Okay, so first of all, if you haven't seen the episode, now's the time to cut us off. Fair warning, you've been warned. And then I'm going to give you a little background here on my own weirdness. I'm the person, and I don't know if this is because of doing reviews for Hot Nerd Girl or what, but I'm the person that takes a notebook into the movie theater with me and is writing notes. But I'm not looking at the notes, I'm just writing them. And so sometimes like sentences go over each other. So the way that I tend to approach things is I just sort of like word vomit onto a page. And so I just started writing down all these things about all the different characters. And as I was making my notes, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this for this first episode and see how it goes. So the first character that I would like to talk about is Cobb Vanth, which, if you don't recognize the name, he was the Marshal of Mos Pelgo. And he is a character from the Aftermath trilogy of novels by Chuck Wendig. So if you are not familiar with those novels, he was probably a new character for you. And if you are familiar with them, then you've probably been waiting for this moment, because they never explicitly say in the novels that he's got Boba Fett's armor, but it's obvious enough that I think most people just kind of came to that conclusion. And so this story, as well as his story in the books, if I'm remembering correctly, is set between Return of the Jedi and The Mandalorian. What you doing there, Andy? I don't know what Andy's doing.
I'm sending you over there to engineer your setup.
Okay, so, and I don't know, do you guys know the books at all? That trilogy of books?
Not those.
No.
Yeah, I have not read those books. No.
Okay, so basically what is suggested is that when Jabba's sail barge explodes, it damages the Sarlacc enough that he can be killed, and like the Jawas go in and they're able to salvage stuff from him, which, you know, is probably where they ended up getting Boba Fett's armor, right? But does look like it's a little banged up, like it's been digested a little bit, some stomach acid or something. And if it was injured, then that would give the Krayt Dragon an opportunity to eat it, right? And take over its lair. Right?
Right. Yeah, that was one of the throwaway lines that I went, that's interesting.
Again, I'm assuming that you guys have seen the episode, so you know what I'm talking about, since we didn't do like an exact rundown of what happened. So I kind of saw the Marshal coming in, and, you know, like, one of the things I love about cosplay is that it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter, you know, what size you are, like, it doesn't matter what race you are, like, anybody, what gender you are, anybody can play anything. I truly believe that. And I myself do a lot of crossplay. And so you look at the Mandalorian, who's like obviously buff, and then you look at the Marshal, who's like this skinny guy, you know, with this big old helmet on, and it's kind of makes you think of him as being like the ultimate Boba Fett cosplayer.
No, that thing he had on, it looked like a Twizzler, you know, wearing a football helmet. And, you know, you think of Boba Fett as having a little, you know, heft to him, and this guy was just skinny in a sweater and kind of ill-fitting. It was funny to me. I get it.
Yeah, no,
it was adorable.
It was a brilliant design choice, right? And it's also kind of, you know, I mean, it thematically works in terms of, does he deserve to wear this mantle of Mandalorian too, right?
Right. He looks kind of like a little kid wearing a big kid, like an adult's outfit. And I thought that was kind of perfect, because he's not supposed to be wearing this. So anyway, and then the other big thing that I noticed about it, and, you know, like while I was kind of, you know, writing my notes, I was like, oh man, I bet a million people thought about this. And then sure enough, on Facebook, everybody was pointing it out, was that his speeder looked like it was made from Anakin's pod racer.
Yeah, that was,
but like with a weird like sidecar.
Yeah, that was a brilliant little Easter egg there, to just kind of call that back of maybe he scavenged Anakin's pod racer from episode 1.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Online, there were people arguing like, "Why is he riding a sidecar?" And the other person's like, "If he was on top, man, he'd be roasting his crotch. You can't do that." Other guy, what if he's in the back of the pod race engine? He's like, "Dude, he'll burn his face." And it was just. I'm glad the guys at Lucas have thought about all the angles.
Literally, also, all the angles.
I mean, I just kind of love, also, right? I mean, more part of his ill-fitting armor and kind of awkward sidecar bike, right? I mean, there's all kinds of awkward and hackneyed together for the people of this town.
What's that scavenger lifestyle?
Yeah, it works as a character choice.
So Tracy, did the character carry over as you expected from the book?
I mean, it's been a really long time. I think those books came out like 5 years ago or something. So, and I haven't read it since then, but as far as I remember,
as I understand, it was pretty much like 1 or 2 chapters, right? It wasn't a full extended arc, right?
Well, so that whole flashback that they did, that was a major part of a book, right? Like his backstory.
Yeah,
okay. So moving on, like we can go into the books, like we can do like a whole like summary of books.
We don't have to go into the books. I just was curious on that little point right quick. I definitely like how they work together. The Mandalorian and Cobb. It's just it was a good little play there where it's like, that's a classic story, by the way, that first episode, that whole, hey, we got to save the town. But they did it a little differently with, hey, let's bring in this other group of people, the Tusken Raiders, and, having Cobb lead the town and kind of be, as Andy said, this awkward guy with the Mandalorian, who also showed a little bit of heart instead of just taking the armor like he could have, so it definitely worked on a lot of different angles. So who's up next, Tracy?
He's a reasonable guy, I've got a lot more stuff about Cobb, but I feel like we need to move on. So, of course, he was carrying around the ice cream maker. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, the Cantono again.
I also want to point out that the Arabesh around the hologram of the Death Star, that was the opening crawl to Empire Strikes Back. I'm just going to throw that out there. I want to make sure I don't miss certain things. Yep.
That's funny.
And there was a Sam Witwer cameo. Did you guys see Sam Witwer?
No. Where was Sam Witwer?
Yes. When he's going through the town, he's got a dolly with stuff, and he's got long hair.
Oh my gosh!
Yes,
I have to go look for that again.
Who of course does the voice of Darth Maul in the animated series, right?
Right.
I recognize him right away.
He was also Starkiller in the Force Unleashed games as well.
Oh, so I don't know that. But I watched that. There's that show about like a what?
I was just saying to the production. I'm going to get to that guy in a little while.
Okay.
But go ahead, your list.
Anyway, okay, so I digress. I'm going off on like vampire, werewolf, ghost shows. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about the Krayt Dragon, which of course we see a smaller one in A New Hope, right? That's the one that C-3PO and R2-D2 go past.
Or rather, the skeleton of, right?
Oh, that's what I said, right? Didn't I say skeleton? Okay.
Oh, I thought you said smaller.
And then, of course, in the same movie, Obi-Wan pretended to be, right? He did a Krayt Dragon call to scare off the Tusken Raiders to nab Luke, right?
Which is one of the most oft redone sound cues in the movies in every edition, right?
Probably. I don't know. But the pearls that they make, so I have chickens. And one of the things that they have is they have a gizzard, right? And you give them grit, and then there's rocks in the gizzard, and it crushes up all the food and makes it into a paste that they can then digest. And that's essentially what these pearls are for the Krayt Dragons, is they're kind of in their, whatever their gizzard is. It's like their last stomach or something. And of course, like the one that we see Han Solo use in the game to win the Millennium Falcon against Lando Calrissian, obviously that's a smaller one. If you process them and clean them well enough, you can actually, make them in lightsabers and things like that, because they've got these crazy reflective qualities and properties. And, they make it sound like, I think it gets a little confusing because this was such a big Krayt Dragon, but really the Tusken Raiders are used to killing these things pretty regularly, because that's how they show that they're warriors, right? Is they go out and kill a Krayt Dragon and take its pearls. So, and you can have multiple pearls in a Krayt Dragon. So like that was where it kind of threw me off a little bit. I was like, aren't they experts at this? And then I realized, okay, this is a really big one. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
I also love that that's a bit of a callback to the Knights of the Old Republic games as well, because I think that was one of the missions where you had to kill a Krayt Dragon and get its pearl.
See, you guys are deep diving. I was just happy to see Tuskens. Tuscans, and they had the sign language, going on. That whole thing of, hey, let's get them in here. How do we communicate with these guys? Boom, sign language.
Yeah.
And seeing them hold up it reminded me of the episode one where they held up the shiny ball.
Oh yeah, the shiny ball.
Yeah, the Tuscan Raider like rah, rah, got a big ass pearl, rah, he was just happy as hell. That made me happy inside.
So not to go up on. Sorry, go ahead.
It's also just funny to hear conversational Tuscan, right? Where instead of we're used to hearing the war cries, or it's and this is just like.
So while we're there on the Tuscans, how did you guys feel when I thought that was one actually kind of surprise for me when Mando started yelling out in Tuscan, and all of a sudden you realize it's the healing of Star Wars. I don't know if that was something that came up in any of the rooms, when they're discussing the theme and writing through it, but bringing people together is what a lot of Star Wars has been about. Mm-hmm. And it will always be a family property. So I always find it amazing that you can find, old farts, young kids, people from all different walks enjoying Star Wars. And now the Tuscans can enjoy, waving big balls over their heads and cheering along with everybody else. No innuendo there.
What's the line for old fart? Where does that line start?
That's a good question. I will not answer at this moment.
Very careful. Step carefully. I just want to make a quick side note about Tuscans, though, and the fact that they use sign language.
Yeah.
One of the charity groups that I work with was founded by a guy named Sean Mullins, and his brother was deaf and had some other problems and died very young. And he is a Tusken Raider cosplayer. And one of the things that when the sign language thing really started becoming more established, he was so excited because one, he that's what he cosplays, and two, it's so important to him. And Deaf Awareness Day every year is a big deal for him and for all of us in that kind of charitable community. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that for communities where that might be slightly marginalized, as far as handy capable and differently abled, it's kind of neat that they have somebody in the Star Wars universe that does use sign language. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Actually, that was something I think I remember seeing a special feature or something about the first season 1. The first time you see the Tusken Chiefs, right? In fact, the binocs that they use are the same binocs that they trade in the last episode where we first meet the Tusken Chief. And I believe the actor was a deaf actor who they hired to be that Tusken.
Yes, he was. Yes, you're right.
And so they kind of collaborated to develop what is this hand signal bartering, hand signal language that they use for the Tuskens.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
That was totally cool. Thank you for that. Tying this back into, check this out. The Tusken Raiders have always been like, Anakin came across and killed them. Obi-Wan was like, hey, those guys, fucking animals, man. You better watch out. And there was always this kind of, poo-pooing, but all of that seems to have come from the Tusken Raiders. I mean, not the Tusken Raiders, the Jedi. So now we have the Mandalorian, who is their friend, and it's another kind of rift, between the Mandalorian and the Jedi that's already in place. So if we want to start speculating on a little bit of what's coming up, you've got a Mandalorian who's against the Jedi holding on to a being that the Jedi has deep relationships with the Jedi. Mm-hmm. So now you've got these paths crossing, a little tension going on, and this is getting into some really interesting stuff. So with that, we'll go into a little bit of Baby Yoda, adorable kid.
I mean, really, all I wanted to say about Baby Yoda is how adorable he is, and that he can close his own roof, and he like the ears flapping in the wind. And I mean, you can't talk about the Mandalorian without just being like, "Oh my God, I love you! I just want you." He's so cute. I want his spawn as well. If he sprouts, I want.
He's sprouting Baby Yoda. So the other thing, right, and we're talking about kind of larger themes, and we're talking about kind of possibly for this season, right, is how accustomed to violence Baby Yoda is becoming, right? And that was a theme that kind of paid off a little bit towards the latter episodes in season 1, where he almost force chokes Cara Dune, right? So that's something that I find really interesting and wonder, like, if this is a theme. It's like clearly the Mandalorian is not fit to be a father. He's not, like, he doesn't know what he's doing at all. He brought a child into an underground wager fights.
Yeah. No, that the whole father relationship, or single dad with that whole idea is just interesting, and I don't know how many times modern fantasy or sci-fi has really broached that. Yeah. But it's interesting to see here, and I know a lot of people who really aren't into Westerns, aren't into the style of Star Wars. They got into that aspect of it. Andy, I don't know if you remember Jeff from the 8-Bit Cubist, one of my friends.
Yeah.
His wife was just like, "Look, I don't need any of the Star Wars shit. Keep it away from me. I'm not about any of that." And she was, that's who she is. She didn't care for it. Once Baby Yoda showed up, man, she's over there, cooking up some blue milk for us to drink while we watch. She's getting the snacks ready and telling her friends not to call her because the baby's about to come back on. It's the baby show.
I want to seize as a baby.
Yes, exactly.
I think we can all agree that Mando is a better father than Stennis Baratheon, though. Can we agree on that?
Wait, better than who?
Stennis Baratheon? No?
I do not know this reference.
Okay. Game of Thrones.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You can't just jump off these like that really quick. All right. So we're going through all these characters here. We got some comments in the chat. Somebody read those off?
I can't see the Twitch chat. Can you see this Twitch chat, Andy?
I cannot.
Everyone wants to read them all.
I don't think they can hear right.
Well, somebody feel free to post the comments into the, okay, you guys click on that and I'll keep going through characters. Okay. Let's talk about Gor Koresh, talking about the Mando being Father of the Year and taking Baby Yoda, the child, to an underground pit fight with Gamorreans, right? The piggy aliens. Of course, I think everybody knows by now that was John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
As Gor Koresh, right? That, like, you can't mistake that voice. But what I want to know is what those critters were that went after him at the end. And I'm wondering if they're, and I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Furnox? They're the little things from Rebels. No? They come out under darkness. Remember they surrounded them around that campfire in Rebels?
Right. Okay.
And like you have to, like, any light that's on that, like, to keep them away, you have to have like a solar-based light.
Yeah, those didn't remind me of those.
That's no? Here's the thing: we still don't know what planet that is, right? Did they name the planet?
Oh, no. I don't know. The graffiti planet.
Somebody called it Detroit, but I wasn't sure.
But also, from the comments, Capona says, waits for someone to yell, "He's called the child."
We know that he's called the child.
I wonder just the child, I guess that's part of the whole mystery and lore.
I mean, it's very in line with the kind of wolf and cub aesthetic, right? It's more mysterious.
Oh, quick note,
here's the
graffiti. The graffiti, they actually had graffiti artist David Cho in the audience for the fights. So he made a quick appearance there, and I'm pretty sure that if he was around, he would have had something to say about the graffiti on the walls. So maybe he art directed that or something. I don't know, but that guy gets around everywhere.
Oh, I'm getting to the graffiti. I'm getting there.
Oh, well, go ahead.
No,
okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, but just a quick note about the child.
Mm.
Okay, so we don't know what Yoda's species is, so he's always called Yoda's species, right? That's it. And so I think it's appropriate to call him Baby Yoda since it's actually the Yoda species. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Now,
I think both are correct.
We have another comment. Ring Capacity says, I thought I would grow tired of the child and never did.
Oh, the child's got so much left to do.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he's got ears to flop. He's got hand thingies to wave.
He's got more buttons on the razor to press. Come on.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good gauge of whether or not you're dead inside.
Really quick. So one thing that I found, hard to kind of grasp, I guess, is the fact that they're not going in a serialized format anymore. So they're using episodes for The Mandalorian instead of, the normal, well, not normal, but what we expect from streaming services, which is these highly serialized episodes that go one after the other, and the story's really tied in. We get more of a single adventure with a little bit of a tease here and there of something interesting, and then we just go into the next one. So I don't know if you guys heard anything about the strategy or had any thoughts on that, but that's really interesting in terms of character development and things. So
I've really appreciated that. Maybe I'm old school, but or maybe quarantine got me quarantine blues. But I really like having a little sense of completion each week. So and that is to say it's not to say that it's not completely episodic, right? I mean, we are still a lot of this episode is about setting up kind of broader themes, right? I actually feel from this episode, and this is something I really enjoyed about it. Jon Favreau directed this, right? And you can see some of his aesthetic and touches in this, but very much so, like this set the tone for this year, right? He has a quest. We know that he's going to be seeking out other Mandalorians. We know that he's seeking the Jedi, and that he's probably going to be interfacing with other Mandalorians we know from past shows and series and animations, and we're probably going to meet some new folks too. And he's going to be learning things about what it means to be a Mandalorian, what it means to be honorable. I mean, that's like a running theme throughout this. Are the villagers honorable? Are the Tuskens honorable? Is Cobb Vanth honorable enough to earn the right to wear that armor? I almost get the sense at the end, like, he probably would have been fine if Cobb Vanth did not put the armor on his bike, but he's honorable enough that he did, right? I mean, that whole kind of theme of people's expectations versus, what they lived up to or lived down from.
That could have, I agree with you totally, but coming from if you're trying to make a serialized, or you're talking about the Netflix crew, right. I mean, Netflix crowd who is always, what's happening next week? How did this happen? You've only got 8 episodes, and basically nothing terribly substantial happened in this episode. And I thought it was pretty bold that they decided to do that, where it's like, look, we don't care. We're going to set a tone. And basically what happened? Boba Fett exists, and he's got his armor. That's all. That could have been told in less than,
But we don't know, right? Some of these factors can still play out in ways we don't know yet.
Exactly. But you know what I'm getting at.
I know what you're getting at. It's not leaving big, huge, look at this thing and it's something going to lead to something later, right? It's not kind of overt with that. And honestly, for me, I kind of prefer it, right? It's much more satisfying to me at this point. But
you got any thoughts on that style, Tracy?
As I look like I'm about to talk, I think one of the things that is missing from this discussion as far as moving the story forward is the character development of Mando himself. And even in some of the throwaway lines, right? Like him getting over his hatred of droids.
Yeah.
That was a major theme in the last season was no droids. Don't like droids, don't want to be around droids, don't trust droids. And very first episode, one of the first things that he does is say, you know what, IG-11, like, he kind of proved me wrong here. Maybe I can't lump them all together. Go ahead, work on my ship. And, and even Pelmato, or Pelimato saying like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool now. I think if we see him moving past as a stereotype of what a Mandalorian is and really becoming, because he really is kind of on his own now in a lot of ways. There's not many of them left, just like with Jedi, right? They're kind of scattered throughout, and it's kind of an antiquated philosophy that they're living by in this new world that's mostly about scavengers and rogues and rebels. And
so wait, is droid hating a stereotype of Mandalorians?
It's definitely a character trait they leaned into heavily in season 1, right? Because that was the big crux of his for him, yeah. Not necessarily for I don't think it is, anyways.
No, I know there's like a general, and he's progressive in that sense because there's a general basis in the universe of droids get second, they're second rate. We even saw in the bar on Tatooine, it's like he came in there, it's like, oh, droids are running the bar now. So
yeah, I think
they're just showing that he's a progressive character as much of a badass as he is. And production's fighting me over here, telling me that
Hey, I know, but we got to see R5 again. We got to see R5D4 who was in the bar, and in the last season. So we got to see him again. And okay, I know I said I was going to mention the graffiti, so there was lots of Arabesh on the walls with like Alderaan and things like that, and of course, little Easter eggs in there with like troopers and stuff. So then,
can you read Arabesh?
No, but I can write it down and look it up.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure.
I know one person who has been training himself to read Arabesh.
So. Is that Jason?
That is Jason.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Okay, so of course the big reveal was in the last minute.
So big that they went widescreen for the letterbox widescreen for the final moment.
So big, and that was of course seeing Tamara Morrison as what we think is Boba Fett, right? Technically, it could be Commander Rex.
Captain Rex. It could be any clone.
Or I'm sorry, Captain Rex, Commander Cody. It could be Commander Cody.
True. I think
right. Any other clone?
Commander Cody, they may have actually confirmed kill in one of the novels. I feel someone told me that. I don't know.
That would. So if it wasn't Boba Fett, that would be another reason to flip over the Star Wars table. And the message boards would be just lit up. Fuck you, Favreau. I hate all of you. How dare you? Like that. It's if that wasn't Boba,
we're pretty sure. You also hear his jingling spurs as he walks towards camera, which sounds very much like the spurs that walked up to Fennec Shand in season 1.
But the Marshal was wearing spurs too, and it was way more obvious and loud.
They did. So
I don't know which one found Fennec.
Wait, I didn't hear spurs on the spur sound effect on.
Oh yeah, on the Marshal, big time.
I definitely heard in that last scene though.
I barely heard it.
I also noticed that he is also sans all hair and scarred as if maybe by acid
and
burns.
Eyebrows.
Yes.
They actually did. This episode had a lot of little. It's hard to call them Easter eggs, but the way they're thematically toning everything, the way they're layering it out, it's like we're going to tell you what the story is through the tone, and not so much we're talking about Star Wars has rhythms and it has there's a certain poetry to it. I really think that these writers have put that heavily into The Mandalorian in the sense that, so you've got this big, the crate dragon, sand beast that comes out, it starts spitting acid at everyone, and of course it allows Mando to they kind of did that, and then you could see Mando coming out of the his belly, and he's all covered in it,
slimed
because he's got his armor or whatever. So that kind of gives you the whole, maybe he survived already. Stomach acid is a thing that we should maybe be thinking about. I think it was so incredibly intentional, everything that they did, that is one thing I'll say about their storytelling, that they're telling story with almost expectations and kind of these breadcrumbs that they're leaving that's so not direct, but very intentional, and it'll lead up to some payoffs like, like you were saying, burnt eyebrows and everything from the stomach acid. Maybe it's already telling that story.
I mean, even, even other kind of drawing on feelings that you might have from other movies, right? Because we know this was directed by Jon Favreau. At which point, it's not a coincidence that you have a sequence where Cobb Vanth with the Boba Fett armor casually walks up to a vehicle off in the distance and shoots a tiny missile to blow up, the vehicle. That's straight out of Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
That's actually like the action figure. Remember, they had that prototype action figure that would
totally
bend over and do it, but then they ended up having it just all be in one piece. But and also, so I saw a fan theory online that, because you probably noticed that Boba Fett was carrying Tusken weaponry, right?
Yeah. Which, by the way, I just have to add, I love that we now know that gaffy sticks aren't really a weapon. They're actually a toothpick for a bantha. Okay, I'm done.
I know. That was so funny. Why would he have one then? But anyways.
If you're going to survive in the wilds of Tatooine, you're living off of banthas. I mean,
That's true. But we didn't see it. Well, he could have been walking towards his bantha. But so I saw a fan theory online that he was one of the Tusken Raiders that was around the fire when they were talking, that was kind of like offset a little bit, just listening.
Wait.
That was actually Boba Fett.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, we don't know if that's true or not.
Was he in head wrap, or they're saying that he was not? He was just hiding in plain sight.
He was wearing the Tusken Raider getup and was sitting around the fire, but a little further back.
So he's living amongst the Tuscans potentially,
right? Or going in and out.
Yeah, he could have been assigned to hang out with the Tuskens, Supreme Leader Snoke, because every one of his theories seemed to turn out true. So we'll see. Sorry, just a grab there from our past.
Somebody else wrote a comment. Caponis wrote, Boba looked unpleased. Mando has the armor too. Like, now that it's back in Mandalorian's hands, they may come back to investigate Boba's death.
So this is something that I find interesting, right? Because we've had multiple quotes from George Lucas and other people that Boba Fett is not a Mandalorian. Or either Boba Fett or Jango Fett are not Mandalorians. And now that we know that Mandalorians are a creed, not a race, right? I'm sure they're going to dig into that a little bit more too, right?
Yeah, and I assume they're going to be really careful with it because of the way they're putting the show out. And what I mean by that is, they've got this amazing way of making it good for people who don't know shit, and still good for people who know far too much shit, like us. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people were like, "Oh, there's some crazy dude at the end of the thing, wearing black, that's coming after Mandalorian. Cool. I'll wait to see next week what that is." Me, on the other hand, it's like, holy shit, is that the same actor? And that kind of thing.
Okay, can I just use the jetpack as maybe proof that they are not Mandalorians by like by creed, but are just wearing Mandalorian armor? And that is, we've now seen the armorer, right? And how meticulous she is with the equipment, with the armor, with everything. Now that jetpack has been hoaxed from the time of Jango Fett, right? He couldn't get away from Mace Windu because the jetpack malfunctioned, and then Mace Windu beheaded him. And then, of course, you have Han Solo getting his vision back, knocking it, and that's what knocked Boba Fett into the slave barge, right? And into the Sarlacc. And then you have as a repeat, you have Mando hitting it on the back of Cobb, sending him to safety. And this is, you see the patch on there. I don't know if you guys noticed that there was like a metal patch on there. And he's like, you make sure that your people know that I didn't break this. And I think that is further proof. Now, in the Legends stuff, which I don't think is canon anymore, right? That's not canon since
it is no longer canon. Correct.
Okay, so in Legends, he is kind of raised by this guy who's like his adopted grandfather, who was like one of these journey protector people, and he ended up going from that to becoming a Mandalorian and met a guy named Fett, who I think was like a farmer or something, and they die, and he ended up being like the journeyman protector, and then when he took care of Go and brought him up in the Mandalorian tradition. So that's the Legends.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that one.
Right,
actually.
that they talk about. I'm probably butchering the shit out of that, but it's something like
I believe in current canon, because we do see young Boba Fett during Clone Wars, and we find out that he's hanging out with Aurra Sing, and I think he kind of just bounces around amongst space pirates. He runs with Hondo Onako for a while. I don't know that we know exactly where he gets his armor from, right? And that's something interesting, right? Now that we've seen in season 1 that the armor makes a big deal over the symbol that they put on the pauldron, versus Boba Fett has the mythosaur skull on his pauldron. So is that something that he earned, or did he steal it from another Mandalorian?
Sometime later, I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to beat the hell out of us for missing. But we're getting close to the end of time. Tracy, you're jumping in the seat over there.
One more thing. Like, I have something. No, there's something on the tip of my brain about how there's the Journey Protector symbol that's like on their, like Django has it, and then Boba has it, and I think it's on their ship, but I could be wrong, and I want to see it, but I already just said it. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. All of a sudden, like I had like a weird little like in my brain that was like, wait, there's something about this. Anyways,
I'm gonna go ahead and disclaimer that I fuck up Star Wars lore all the time, so you can at me if you want or not. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna claim ignorance. Chardonnay happened or something. I don't know.
Deadwood fans. The bartender was played by a Deadwood guy.
Timothy Oliphant. That's correct.
No, not Timothy Oliphant. The bartender.
Yes.
Underneath that.
They're both.
The Weekly character was from Deadwood, so bring that whole Western thing into play. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
And he looked kind of like a giant cocksucker. Sorry.
I actually had the toy of that character, so we're not going to talk bad about him. That's my guy.
The weak way, right?
Yes. Really quickly, as we're finishing up here, we did get a message from Facebook. Somebody wanted to know how the economy. We're not going to get into answering this here. Thanks, Michael Rogers, for sending this. How does the economy work in Star Wars? Seems like only the poor need money. Low key, was the value in the casino scene in The Last Jedi. It seems there's a poverty criminal syndicate and adjacent bounty hunters and mega rich, and there are all these financial things going on. I'll cut his part right there. That's one thing we really get into in Star Wars. Is a lot of financial, tax, government.
Considering this all begins with a trade federation.
So the only thing I want to say about that is that it's very interesting, and it definitely helps tell the story of the bounty hunter side of things, where Imperial credits or calamari flan, what are we going to trade with and barter? So it just leads for a really interesting thing. And because of that, I wanted to mention his comment. Something definitely keep an eye on how this whole bounty hunter economy works or whatever. But we
should definitely talk about that in a future episode.
We'll talk about a lot of things in future episodes. Yes. So I am happy here. I want to thank all of you for joining us, for being here to listen to us on this first episode where we stumbled through things through our healing process. Once again, we have Andy Lowe, the Chinese pirate. Go ahead and let them know where they can find you, Andy.
I am Chinese Pirate _ on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, and on Twitch.
All right. And you, Tracy?
I am not the same one. So I am on Facebook. I'm Hot Nerd Girl. On Instagram, Hot Nerd Girl Official. On Twitter, Hot_Nerd_Girl.
The Hot Nerd Girl. And I am Mr. Benja. You can just find me at, I'm just going to say MrBenja.com. I'm going to actually tighten up the graphics on level 3 for that website and send everybody to MrBenja.com. That's where you can find me. We are the Pod Squadron. We're going to be coming at you every week, maybe, or more or less. But yeah, we'll try to do it weekly. We'll be on Twitch. We'll try to put this stuff out to YouTube and really try to make something good happen in a different way than everybody else is doing.
Uh-oh. Did Benja freeze?
Did he freeze? I think he froze.
He's froze. Okay, so then I will say goodbye, and it'll be like your graduation caps. I'll just throw my Wookiee hat in the air. Huzzah! Spotchka!
Well, I will sign us off then with sometimes, I guess once in a while, both suns shine on a womp rabbit's tail. Thank you, everyone, and good night. We'll see you next week.